If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, I'm back and it is Saturday, January 26th, and it's 5:57 p.m. I know that some of you are wondering where I've been for the last 2 days, and automatically you thought, well, maybe the cat chewed through some of her wires and her equipment or what have you. No, I wish that that was all it was, but I have been, and I'm just saying this for the sake of you guys that have been my regular listeners and have contacted me through email or Twitter, wondering if I was okay and offering prayers. I really appreciate that. I have been deathly ill. I have been ill for quite a while now, and it seems like my health has been deteriorating, and I get abnormal lab results, but nobody seems to be able to get to the bottom of it. Well, within the last 48 hours, getting to the bottom of it was forced upon me, quite literally, because it became a crisis. So they know what the problem is. It has been addressed, and I've been extremely ill the last couple days, and I haven't been able to do a video. I'm still really weak, so I don't know how long I can go for tonight. I haven't eaten for 2 days, but I have been drinking lots of water. So, you know, as things improve, I'm sure that will all be fine as well. But anyway, I'm back, I'm feeling better, and of course the very first thing I wanted to do was to do a video, because I knew if I went for 3 days that you guys would really start to worry and think that perhaps the censor police had gotten after me, which isn't too far-fetched really, because actually it was today that they, was it today or yesterday actually, YouTube has said that they're going to start doubling down their effort on conspiracy theorists. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I think that probably YouTube would. So I'm going to have to, within the next week or so, come up with a counter plan and another place to post should they shut me down here. And I will make sure to let all of you guys know. All right. Well, we don't have any Q today. I wish we did. I've been looking quite, you know, frantically for Q, because I think that we need him to post. I think a lot of people are losing heart, especially with what happened with Donald Trump and the wall. I think a lot of people have viewed this as him caving, and I don't think that at all. I really don't. I don't think he has caved. Now, a lot of people will follow you as long as you're doing everything that they want you to do. But then once the plan doesn't look the way they think it should look like, they are quick to bail out. And I've seen that in the Patriot movement over the last couple days. People are just bailing out, saying, okay, I'm done. Well, no, I'm not done, because he's our best hope. I mean, aside from the Lord God, Donald Trump, as flesh and blood, is our best hope. So what do? Just not support him? You'd rather support Nancy? Chuck? Bernie Sanders, who apparently has let us know that he's going to be running in 2020. I think that most people would rather have a guinea pig in office than, you know, Bernie Sanders. But hey, I don't know. But anyway, there's a lot that's been happening. Now, what do I think about the wall? Well, I'll tell you. I think that Trump did what he had to do, because the longer it went on and the more people weren't getting paid, the 800,000 federal employees weren't getting paid, it made him look bad. Even though it's clearly the Democrats. Anyone with a brain can see that the Democrats won't even come to the table. They're not even willing to negotiate at all. It's no wall. That's our negotiation. No wall. And so, you know, it's evident that this was going to just go on and on and on, unless one of two things happened: unless the Democrats caved, or unless he declares that state of emergency and builds the wall anyway. So why did he do this? Well, I think optics, number one. It opens up so that those 800,000 employees that haven't been getting paid will get their pay, will get their back pay. It also allows, because I guess in January they gave out February's food stamps, so they were a little bit worried about what's going to happen. So that can, you know, reissue food stamps, make sure people are getting their food stamps, make sure people are getting what they need to survive. So that's why I think he opened it up. However, he said 3 weeks. They've got 3 weeks, and I'll either shut it down or build it anyway. So the time to be mad at Trump is not now. The time to be mad at Trump, should it arrive, is 3 weeks from now. And let me tell you, if 3 weeks arrives and Trump hasn't made some definitive decision on the wall, yeah, I'm going to be upset. Am I going to stop supporting him? No, because I don't think we have any choice right now. That's how I feel. I mean, what are we going to do? Get behind Nancy Pelosi? Get behind the members of the deep state, who we know are crooked? I mean, every day it's illustrated to us. And let me also talk about the arrest of Roger Stone. Now, this has me really, really upset. He's a 66-year-old man. He doesn't own a gun. He's never been violent. He doesn't have any criminal record. His only crime was being brought in by the FBI to question him about what he knew about Russian collusion. Of course, the Russian collusion never happened, right? We know that. So he was being questioned about a non-existent crime, and believe me, I believe that Mueller knew all along that this was just a witch hunt, and he was, just doing what he could. But that is the thing that upsets me, because if you listen to the mainstream media, they're going to portray it like, well, I'm losing my train of thought here. They portray it like, okay, these people have all been arrested because of Russian collusion in the investigation, and so that proves that there must be some sort of collusion, because why are all these people being arrested? Manafort, Papadopoulos, Roger Stone, a bunch of people, Corsi, all these people, then it makes it look like there's something there, but there wasn't. It's like if you and I were brought into the police station, well, let's say it's the FBI. Make it a little bit more of a better analogy. Let's say the FBI calls us in to question us about an imaginary crime, and we say, I don't know anything about that. And they keep questioning us and keep questioning us for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours until we're exhausted with no food, nothing to drink, just questioning. And in the process of questioning us about a crime that never occurred, we happen to say something that might contradict something we said earlier. That is why he's arrested. He was arrested. He was being questioned. It's called a process crime. And he was being questioned about a crime that never even occurred. And yet now he's facing prison term. He's broke. At least that's what he has said, because all his monies are going to lawyers to fight something that isn't even, he should never have had to fight that. There's no crime, there's no Russian collusion. So why is he being charged with a process crime, which is just absolute bull? And it's the same with the other guys, and they're just doing this. It's like they want him to turn on Trump and to give them the information that they want on Trump. But he's like, no. First of all, there is no Russian collusion. Second of all, I'm not going to make stuff up about Donald Trump. So this whole thing about Rogers, them coming early in the morning, like, what was it, 6 in the morning or something, with a SWAT team to arrest him. And here's something else. How is it that he's arrested at this time in the morning and CNN is there? Does the FBI normally let somebody know when they're going to send a SWAT team in to take somebody down? Wouldn't that be dangerous? If they believed they needed a SWAT team with that many trained officers and guns and everything else, why would they have let a CNN reporter be in the midst of that if that person's life was possibly in danger? And if it wasn't in danger, then why all the officers and guns? I mean, of course, we know that they take their guns, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, their guns were drawn. So it's ridiculous. And, this CNN reporter, who also, by the way, worked for Comey. Oh, yes, he did. Oh, yes, he did. You can't make this stuff up. Can't. And so this guy, he gets the tip off, and he's there at that time of the morning when the when the SWAT team arrives, he doesn't think, oh, gee, I might be in danger here. No, he doesn't, because he knows it's a sham. Of course he does. And they get this guy, his lawyer wasn't even notified. And here's Roger Stone. He hasn't, no criminal record. No, he doesn't have guns in his home. No record of violence. And he said, all they needed to do was call me up and I would have come down. You know, let my lawyer know. But no, they didn't do any of that. And do you think this poor, you know, I wouldn't say elderly. I was going to say elderly. I wouldn't say he was elderly. He's 66 years old. But do you really think he poses a danger? You have to bring a SWAT team? And if he did pose a danger, why'd you let the CNN reporter in there? The whole thing reeks. And then you've got the people that are just puppet heads, you know, because their brains, there's nothing up there anymore, literally, saying, oh yeah, I told you, that Roger Stone, he's a bad guy. It's unbelievable. Anyway, let's go on with our Q-related news. I had to get that off my chest because, you know, I haven't been talking on video for 2 days. I've been holding that in. So, well, not all of it, because some of it just happened yesterday. All right, look at this. Today, it is the unborn child. Tomorrow, it is likely to be the elderly or those who are incurably ill. Who knows, but that a little later, it may be anyone who has political or moral views that do not fit into the distorted new order. That from Dr. Milford Jefferson, and I could not agree more. Any of you who are students of history know that this has happened before and will probably happen again, and any society that is numb enough morally to abort a child like within hours of it being born is a society that will also euthanize its elderly and less productive members. And, you know, it's hard for me to talk about this. Sometime I'd like to do a documentary on this, because here, a lot of stuff is, you don't hear about a lot of stuff up in Canada. Like, stuff is more hidden, and it's harder to get to the bottom of things here. But I'll tell you one thing from my own personal experience. They do kill the elderly here. Oh, yes, they do. And it's not just when, oh, well, you know, they're in pain, they've got cancer, let's you know, what do you call that? When they're palliative care, you know, give them morphine to ease their suffering into the next life, and so forth. It's not just that. I could tell you horror stories just of people in my family and my friends' families, just around me. I could interview so many people who's had something like that happen. Yeah, they actually forced my brother, who was, they said he was brain dead. We don't believe that he was, because there were signs there, but they said he was brain dead, and they killed him. And we were objecting to that, of course, and they said it doesn't matter. We can go and get permission from the head in less than an hour. So there's nothing you can do to stop this, absolutely nothing. And it makes you feel so helpless. It's just done. To them, he's taking up a bed. He'd only been there less than 48 hours. He had been transferred from a hospital in Cincinnati because he collapsed when he was at work. Well, he didn't collapse when he was at work. It was a medical error. He called 911 while he was at work, and they didn't intubate him properly, and he was denied oxygen. And they tried to save his life, did everything. And then, of course, because he is Canadian, they transferred him medical flight to Kingston. And that's exactly what happened. And I could interview any number of people in my family that would tell you the same story. That is exactly what happened. They, you know, they don't know when he's going to recover or if he's going to recover. So instead of doing any more tests and costing any more money, because it's social medicine, well, bye-bye. So, yeah, and that's hard. It's hard to get over. But, you know, I do see that. This is setting a really bad precedent. Allowing abortion up to birth is, because how long will it be before, after the baby's born, well, I've changed my mind. Give them a lethal injection. I don't want that child. It's not that far-fetched. I thought Abortion up until birth was far-fetched. I thought, oh no, they'd never do that. Yeah, well, that's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Anyway, let's move on here. Aren't I a bowl of sunshine today? Yeah. Anyway, here's Donald Trump Jr., and he is responding to Eric Swalwell. If you've been to the U.S. Capitol, close your eyes. Do you remember a wall around it? But do you remember officers guarding it, cameras, and barriers at vulnerable points? Do you believe our Capitol is at any risk of an invasion? We don't need a wall. We need smart security. Okay, now this person, Eric Swalwell, he has got to have the IQ of possibly, I don't know, I was going to say like a small barnyard animal, but I think they are smarter than he is, personally. And here's Donald Trump Jr.'s response. The Capitol is surrounded by America, you dolt. I get that based on your policies and positions, you probably look at Americans as hostile force, but I can assure you they aren't invading their capital. They just sent Donald Trump there to fix it. So this is his argument, that we don't need a wall on the southern barrier because, Washington, D.C. doesn't have a barrier around it. So if it doesn't have a barrier around it and they're not afraid of invasion, then why should we have one on the southern border? What kind of an idiotic, honestly, I don't even think somebody would get away with an argument like that in a high school debate team. I think they would be called out immediately and looked at like they were an absolute imbecile. Of course, the U.S. Capitol doesn't have a wall because it's surrounded by America and Americans. They're not going to attack their own capital. How stupid is that? Anyway, it just gets more and more stupid as far as the Dems go. All right, and then here is Lindsey Graham. Democrats' all-encompassing hatred of President Donald Trump and unwillingness to work with him on things that matter to the American people will be one of the chief reasons he gets re-elected. I agree. I could not agree more. And I don't think anybody is working harder than Donald Trump. That's what I see anyway. People, can say, oh, that's crazy. He hasn't done anything. I don't know where these people have been living for the last 2 years. All right. And here's another one by Lindsey Graham responding to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Or Cortez, I like to call it occasional Cortex. Let's bury the... Okay, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, according to Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, the president failing to condemn neo-Nazis forcing thousands of federal workers to go to food pantries and risking all their credit scores is whatever, but not letting the president march down the House floor until we pay people first is a new low. And Lindsey Graham responds by saying, let's bury the hatchet and enjoy the next 12 years, because they're going to be our last, right? And of course, that is in response to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that we only have 12 years left to live on Earth because of global warming and climate change. Yes, she did say that. She did. Yeah, 12 years left, so make your plans. But, well, I was going to say don't make any big purchases, but go ahead. You won't have to pay for it anyway. I'm kidding, of course. All right, and here is this from Breaking News Live. Breaking, the White House is preparing a draft proclamation for President Trump to declare a national emergency along the southern border and has identified more than $7 billion in potential funds for his signature border wall should he go that route. And I believe that he will, because it's quite evident that Pelosi and Schumer, they'll never, they're never going to break down. They're never going to say, you know what, yeah, let's give him a little bit for his wall. That's never going to happen. But what I do see happening is there being an emergency declared and Trump coming up with the money, because the money's there. The money is there. It's always been there. So it's not about the money. It never has been. And this from Chuck Woolery. I found in my life experience that the most ignorant and willfully ignorant are the most arrogant. Isn't that true? I don't know what it is. Those two things seem to always come together. Stupidity and arrogance. Ignorance and arrogance. And this from Daniel Baranowski. Pelosi, you are no queen, and the Capitol is not your castle. I will work to see a law passed that will forbid the Speaker to deny the President access to any part of the Capitol for his purpose of communicating with Congress at any time as a necessary part of his duty. And I think that should be enacted very quickly, because I have never, and I'm sure you never have either. Now, I don't know in the history of America if this has ever happened. I'd be interested to know. But that a speaker has denied the president from giving a State of the Union address? I don't know. That's a new one for me. And I bet you it's a new one for you guys too. But if not, and if you are aware of another time that's happened, let me know, because I'd be really interested to look into it. But I'm not aware that it has ever happened, because I can't imagine there being two people on earth that stupid. But I get surprised every day. All right. And I can't remember what this is, but, let's go out together. Maybe. Slow thinking. All right, and this might be old news by now. When was the, this was from the 24th. Yeah, that's a little outdated by now. So let's go back to, a lot's happened since the 24th. Okay, now, today, House Democrats, for the third time, voted against paying federal workers as negotiations continue. I asked the House Democrat Majority Leader a simple question. How can Democrats claim to support workers when they refuse to pay them and instead use them as political pawns? That's exactly what's happening. And isn't that funny? They're all boo-hooing about, oh, these poor people, they don't have their paychecks. And it is awful. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like, don't get me wrong. I have complete sympathy for these people that aren't getting paid. But I don't believe for 1 minute that they have sympathy for those people not getting paid. Because if they had of, they could have released the pays to them. Like, it was voted against paying them for three times. The Dems voted against it. I mean, so Trump finally said, okay, let's open it up so we can get everyone paid, and you've got 21 days. 21 days, you haven't negotiated. We're either shutting the government down again, or I'm building the wall. What else could he do? Because, they kept bringing up these votes to, okay, let's get these people's pays through. Let's get it through. We want these people being paid. They're doing their jobs and they're not being paid. But the Dems 3 times said, no, don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. Just using these people as their political pawns, that's all. And it says now Democrats are rejecting, and this by Steve Scalise, now Democrats are rejecting Donald Trump's offers before he even makes them. Stop the foolishness. The only way to solve this is to actually negotiate with each other. Until Democrats are willing to talk, progress is impossible. And I happen to believe, now this is a couple days old, but I happen to believe, even though the government has opened up, that negotiation and progress in terms of the wall is still impossible. Because Nancy Pelosi hasn't changed. She hasn't said, oh, okay, now that the government's opened up, we'll talk about it. No, she hasn't said that at all. So she's a bald-faced liar, number one. Because isn't that what she said? Open up the government, then we'll talk. But of course, once the government's open, no, we're not going to talk. I already told you you're not getting your wall. You can't trust, I wouldn't trust those types of people to go to the corner store for me. I wouldn't trust them to get my mail. I wouldn't trust them to walk my dog if I had a dog. These people, like, fundamentally are missing something that makes them human. Really. They have no qualms about lying to people's face and do it so believably. But we, because we're not listening to the mainstream media and we're off that narrative, we see it. But think of all these other people that think, oh no, she's not lying. She means it. She means well. Yeah. Imagine having her as president. I'll tell you one thing. If she ever became president, I wouldn't come back to the States. I don't want to be in Canada either, but that would really frighten me, like big time. All right, and here from Steve Scalise, if Democrats are going to reject what experts tell us, they need to secure our border. At some point, they have to tell the American people what it is they are actually for and put an offer on the table. Enough. Well, you and I know that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And again, by, this is the same one we've looked at previously. This by Greta Van Susteren. CNN cameras were at the raid of Roger Stone, so FBI obviously tipped off CNN. Even if you don't like Stone, it is curious why Mueller's office tipped off CNN instead of trying to quietly arrest Stone. Quiet arrests are more likely to be safe to the FBI and the person arrested. Yeah, I would think that having a camera crew there is not that safe when you're arresting, when the FBI is arresting someone with a SWAT team. And obviously, if it needs a SWAT team, they must have felt that he was a danger, right? All right, and this by David Wall. What America witnessed this morning with the violent raid on Roger Stone's home for alleged white-collar crimes was a horrendous, un-American, criminal abuse of power. There clearly now exists good cause for Robert Mueller to be fired and potentially prosecuted. Well, yeah, I think that evidence has been there for a long while, and I can't wait to see that happen. In fact, I know that is one person I definitely want to see prosecuted. There's my list of, people that, unequivocally should go down, like Obama, the Clintons, people like that, Pelosi, Feinstein, people that we are all aware of their names. But that is another one, Robert Mueller, because I think that he's known all along what he was doing and didn't care. And he does not care that he's ruined people's lives, that he's ruined their reputation, he's ruined their livelihood, and he's draining their wealth because he's forcing them into using all their wealth for lawyers. He's completely and totally ruining people for nothing. There never was any collusion. Well, there was, but not from Donald Trump. The White House. The bottom line, we can end this shutdown today by doing things both sides claim they want. DACA, border security, humanitarian solutions, and TPS. Anyone who claims to support these things but rejects the plan to reopen the government has a lot of explaining to do to Americans. Now, he's talking directly to the Dems there because they're claiming that they want these things, that they want border security, DACA, etc., and humanitarian solutions, but they don't want to reopen the government to get it done, and they wanted to make sure that the government stayed shut down by denying any request to pay the 800,000 federal workers. They denied that 3 times. They shut it down because that's where we're getting our leverage. We're getting our leverage from going on CNN and saying, oh, these poor people are paying the price for Donald Trump's arrogance and whatever. All right. Oh, I guess I put that in there twice. We don't need to read it twice. And this from Rob Whitman. Speaker Pelosi just canceled votes on Friday and is sending the House home tomorrow by lunchtime. It's becoming more and more evident that the Speaker is not willing to work towards a realistic solution to end this shutdown. Yes, it's very, very obvious. It would be interesting, because I've been ill, I haven't been able to talk to people around me about what they feel about this and if they feel, that she's really working towards a solution. It would be interesting to know from those that listen to the mainstream media what their perception is. And if you have people in your family that, because, you know, let's face it, just because we're red pill doesn't mean that everybody in our family is. So if you've got people in your family that are, you know, stuck to the CNN teat, per se, and are listening, getting their sense of news from sources like that, what did they think about what is happening? I would really like to know. So put it in the comments below if you have family members or relatives or friends that do not believe like you do. I'd be interested. All right. And Jacob Wall, killing an unborn baby sea turtle is illegal in the state of New York, punishable by a $250,000 fine and up to 2 years in jail. Killing an unborn baby human is legal and celebrated. Utterly sickening. And of course he has the picture of the One World Trade Center lit up in pink. Yeah. And Bill O'Reilly. It's nothing new for the national press to lean left in America, but openly aiding a political party is unique. In the past, the media would half-heartedly fake it. Not anymore. No words have ever been more true than that, because I've noticed that myself. Because in the past, yeah, you could tell which side they were really on and who they were rooting for, but not like it is now. It's not like it is now. At least they had that semblance of, oh no, we're fair. Not anymore. They don't care anymore. All right. And let's see. I'm not sure what this is, but let's take a boo. We're finally seeing the full depth of Pelosi's flight abuse. That must have been before her facelift, because I'll tell you, I really almost didn't recognize her. She's had a facelift and she looks marvelous, really. I mean, for a woman of her age, she looks wonderful. And I don't begrudge her that, you know. Now, I do begrudge her the fact that she has $200 million, which was probably, well, not probably, it was probably gained, it was most likely gained on the backs of the taxpayers. She certainly has no reservations in you know, stealing tax dollars. But anyway, we're finally getting a fuller picture of how much Nancy Pelosi's travel expenses are costing the American taxpayer, and it's not a pretty sight. For starters, in one 2-year period, Pelosi set the United States Air Force back $2 million in travel costs. I just think of, in 2 years, if somebody said, here, take $2 million and you can travel anywhere. I think I could probably travel till I was all traveled out and still not spend that much money. Of course, I don't drink, so, I mean, the odd glass of wine, but certainly not $2 million worth. Okay, Judicial Watch. The group that obtained these documents through Freedom of Information Act requests reveal that the average cost for Pelosi to fly back to her district is over $28,000 per flight. To put that in perspective, a single economy flight from Washington, D.C. to Pelosi's home of San Francisco cost roughly $250. And I don't understand, why does it have to be a military flight? I mean, I don't understand if they can fly these people back and forth on commercial airlines for cheaper, then why aren't we doing it? To me, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it's not that, like, now I understand that she has to be worried about her security. I do understand that now, but that wasn't always the way. A lot of people probably didn't even know her name. And I mean, even flying first class, like on an airline, would be cheaper than the military, and let her pay for her own booze. Sorry, but you want to drink while you're on duty, and you are on duty. If you're flying back and forth, you're on duty. You're working. You know, pay for your own booze. That amazes me that we paid that. I mean, of course we didn't, but we did. Although a 5-figure domestic flight seems absurd, it isn't the most questionable expense over those 2 years. Over $100,000 was spent on in-flight expenses, which include food and alcohol. And by the way, if you're going from, you know, across from New York to LA, you don't get served a meal. So what are all these? I guess on international flights you still do, but I usually travel like around Canada, the U.S. and Central America are the main places that I've traveled. I've been all over the US and Canada and Central America, but have not been to Europe yet. I want to. And so all these flights, they don't serve food. So I guess this must have been on some of her international flights. Who knows? She probably wanted them to serve her lobster thermidor or something. Which included food and alcohol, although this sum wasn't spent entirely on booze. One example of an expensive liquor store receipt would make a frat house green with envy. Yeah, and this is it. I hope you can see this. It's just a copy of her booze receipt. Johnny Walker, I think I read part of this before. Grey Goose, Ian J. Brandy, Bailey's Original Cream, Maker's Mark. I know I pronounced that wrong before, but it's cognac. And some of this Bacardi Light, Beefeater Gin, Bombay Sapphire Gin. And these are not teeny tiny bottles. Like this one was $47.75 for this bottle of cognac, $24 for this bottle, $53 for the vodka. It's a lot of vodka. Anyway, oh, and she did pick up some wine. Well, isn't that nice of her? Okay. You're reading that right. Cognac, Johnny Walker, 2 bottles of Grey Goose, and more, all paid for with the taxpayer's dollar. Who says Democrats can't have fun? I guess she can, when she can remember it. When the flights go international, things get even more expensive. Oh, I bet they do. The average cost of an out-of-country congressional delegation is over $200,000. The Brookings Institution confirms that while some of these totals are useful and beneficial, there is also potential for abuse. Well, if there's potential for abuse, she's going to find it. This likely comes as a natural result of spending someone else's money. Yeah, it's always easier to spend someone else's money. Always. Another trip exposed by Judicial Watch is a 2015 tour of Italy and the Ukraine. Pelosi and a few fellow representatives brought their spouses on the trip. Well, isn't that lovely? And what a trip it was. The itinerary reads like a whirlwind tour of cosmopolitan Italian cities, complete with fine dining. Compared to previous totals, however, this was an outright bargain at just over $134,000. Wow. Wow. It's unreal. I like this. Would flying coach kill them? It might. It might kill them deader than a hammer. We don't know at this point. But yeah. Anyway, let's go back. And let me see this. Can't remember what this is either. Nuclear option. White House reportedly preparing national emergency order over $7 billion for wall. And this is just discussing what we've already talked about, that Trump has already been drawing this up. So I think he's done playing. I really think he's done playing. I think it's, okay, you know what? You keep saying that we open the government up and get the paychecks flowing again and you'll talk. Well, I'm going to do it just to show America that you are full of crap and that you don't mean a single word that comes out of that pie hole. So that's what he's done. He's opened it up and he said 21 days. 21 days, and if we don't have a deal, I'm building the wall. Well, what could be better than that? Well, he says either we'll shut down government or rebuild the wall. But hopefully he will not shut down government again, because it has accomplished nothing. Nothing. Because Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't care if America burns down around her. She doesn't care. As long as she's got her mansion with her great big wall around it and she's got her $200 million, she does not care about you or me. So, apparently President Trump hasn't taken the idea of a national emergency to fund the border wall off the table, and it could be the nuclear option the White House invokes if Congress can't agree to something the White House is willing to sign off on. CNN reported Thursday that the draft version of the national emergency includes $7 billion in funding for the wall, more than $5.7 billion for border security that the White House was originally asking for. Trump has not ruled out using his authority to declare a national emergency and direct the Defense Department to construct a border wall as Congress and the White House fight over a deal to end the government shutdown, CNN reported. So I think, I think there's all these things being sprinkled out there that so that we don't lose heart, so that we do know that, okay, 3 weeks. We can wait 3 weeks. We've waited this long. 3 weeks, but let me tell you, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. Okay, that's an understatement. If at the end of 3 weeks, we don't have something saying, okay, we're building, we're going ahead. Now, I understand that there's already building going on the border, but we want it secure, really secure, really, really secure. And it'll pay for itself. We know that. So does Pelosi, but she doesn't want to admit it. Now, this from Feisty Cat. Trump says 3 weeks, February 15. Give them a wall or the government will shut again. Definitely a workaround for to the Democrats refusing to pay furloughed workers during shutdown. And that's what I agree to. I think Trump is doing this mainly for these workers because it's obvious they've tried to get money through for them 3 times and it's been voted down by the Democrats. So it's obvious that the Democrats are no-go. They don't want to pay these people and they don't want the government reopened and they don't want the wall. So what they want is they want Trump to cave in and just say, okay, we'll pay these people, open the government, and I'll forget about the wall. And then they'd be fine until the next thing comes up. And then they'd bully the president over that as well. It's ridiculous. I've never seen the likes of it. Like, imagine trying to do your job. Imagine having a job and these many people trying to work against you every day, making up things, trying to involve you in lawsuits, trying to accuse you of things that you haven't done, smearing you, placing things in the media that aren't true or are reported so twisted that there's no real core of truth in it at all. It's unreal. And Roger Stone, isn't it weird that the only reporters outside my house during my arrest this morning were from CNN? How did they know that I was going to be arrested when no one else knew, including my lawyer and I? Not a single reporter from a different news network was there. Sad. Yeah, it's sad because we know that they were tipped off and we know that the reporter at one time worked for James Comey. Yes, he did. And Lady Canuck. Well, what do you have to say, Lady Canuck? Well, Bombshell, the CNN reporter who was outside of Roger Stone's house this morning, used to work for the FBI. Oh, yes, he did. He was also the assistant to James Comey. Booms incoming. Yeah. You can't make it up, people. You can't make it up. Now, where did I go? I've lost myself. I really haven't lost myself. I've lost my place. Yeah, he worked for the FBI. He was assistant to James Comey. Isn't that lovely? But I'm sure that I remember watching this and him saying, oh, I just had this feeling. Right. You just had this feeling, so you got up that early with a camera crew and went and stood outside somebody's house. Right. We all believe that. All right, and Sarah Sanders. In 21 days, President Donald Trump is moving forward, building the wall with or without the Democrats. The only outstanding question is whether the Democrats want something or not, or nothing. Because, see, if they would come to the table and negotiate, the Democrats would probably get some compromise from Donald Trump. However, if they're not willing to negotiate at all, Donald Trump's going to just do it. And he's going to do everything he wants to do, no matter what they say, because they wouldn't negotiate. So if they don't get what they want, then it's their fault. And Donald Trump says, I wish people would read or listen to my words on the border wall. This was in no way a concession. It was taking care of millions of people who were getting badly hurt by the shutdown with the understanding that in 21 days, if no deal is done, it's off to the races. And I'm going to delete this because I don't know. I have to look into this further, but it seems a little bit far-fetched to me. All right, and this from Lisa, well, no, let me see. ALS 1963, responding to Nancy Pelosi. Roger Stone's indictment, and this is Nancy Pelosi, Roger Stone's indictment makes clear that there was definite coordinated effort by Trump campaign officials to subvert the will of the American people during the 2016 election. Stone was not convicted on any crime concerning collusion or anything like that. It was a process crime. So she's full of crap and she knows it, but she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She's got her 200 million and she's got her booze and she's got her, $28,000 trips back and forth from DC to her castle, which has a great big old wall around it. She doesn't care. She can dress well. She can have her face lift. She can be, pay others to do her work. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. She doesn't care what you are, I think. Mm-mm. And this person responds by saying, "Oh, shut up, you stuttering, sloppy drunk. The only deliberate, coordinated effort was led by the Obama administration to stop Trump. The American people chose Trump for a reason, to stop the corruption that has now swallowed your now communist party." Well, I wouldn't say that the Democrats are communistic. I think that they are socialistic, and I think that that's where we're moving towards. And I think that we all need to view what is happening in Venezuela if we want to see how that's going to end. Not pretty. So, of course, we have people like Trump, and we have people both on the Democrat side and the Republican side, or the Republican side and the Democrat side, because not all Democrats are evil. I'm sorry, but they're not. Yeah, I think that you've got some good people, and then you've got some of these new hires. I guess they're not really hires, but newly elected representatives who are infusing socialism into the mix, and it's not going to be pretty unless it's dealt with. All right. Now, this is interesting. To anyone who feels like nothing is happening, look at the fact that we are having a second American Revolution in Congress right now. This is a global, political, economic war of epic proportions. The United States lost its sovereignty before any of us were born. We grew up in a totalitarian, fascist country where public school indoctrination and income tax were mandatory. How does an American revolt against this European slave ownership in 2018? With the pen, not with the gun. This is the good damn plan we were meant to trust. In case you didn't notice, it's been happening for a while. The U.S. government is shut down. They can't pay foreign aid to their crime organizations anywhere on the planet. They can't interfere with the daily lives of American citizens. They can't run semi-legitimate policing and propaganda operations against American citizens using our own money. They can't enslave us anymore with any more debt borrowing from China or the Federal Reserve. Their lawyers are forced to defend a bump stock ban without being paid. Their TSA agents, which molest Americans, have never protected an American, are quitting and getting private sector jobs. IRS employees are refusing to work during tax season. The Senate has them by the balls and is voting against proposals before Trump even has to veto them. Their rank have been infiltrated by useful idiots. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez makes their socialist agenda look retarded. Ilhan Omar makes them look like the political party of Islam. Their members in the House are voting against Pelosi. Their party is imploding. The U.S. military is on the southern border building a wall. Their illegal funding operation in the U.S. from selling drugs and people is absolutely disrupted. Their low-level criminal employees for extortion and jobs in the U.S. have all been arrested since Trump just spent 2 years rounding up MS-13. They can't replenish their headcount because everyone is paying attention to the border. Their attempts to do so have been exposing their entire operation in Mexico and turning the Mexican people against the cartel's anti-American activities. Interesting. I thought I would read that. Not sure how I feel about all that, but it's interesting nonetheless. And of course, we know some of that is true. And this from The Real Dad of 6, Toxic Male. The establishment, aka the swamp, has been growing for the better part of 50 years. It is unreasonable to think President Trump can reverse course in just 2 years. You can't jump ship when you hit one little wave in the ocean. Patience is a virtue. We must stay united with him. And that in response to Donald Trump's tweet, 21 days goes very quickly. Negotiations with Democrats will start immediately. Will not be easy to make a deal. Both parties very dug in. The case for national security has been greatly enhanced by what has been happening at the border, and through dialogue, we will build the wall. I have no doubt that the wall will be built. And I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I will be hopefully back tomorrow. That's my plan and desire. I'm going to go and I'm going to rest for the rest of the evening and try to recover more, and possibly pick up on some different news sources, and I will be back at you tomorrow. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for all your encouragement. I really appreciate it, and your prayers, and I hope that you stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and stop by again real soon. Good night.